Hi, my name is Dion, and this is my story. I grew up in Fresno, California, the youngest of 9 children. I was raised by my grandparents. You know, Dad was in jail. My first recollection of my father was me going to see him at about maybe 8 or 9 years old. And my mom had her first child at 13, knee deep in her addiction. My dad's in prison. It's just this perfect storm of craziness, right? At that time, one of the things that I noticed is that everybody was using some type of substance, be it alcohol, marijuana, cocaine, or whatever the case may be. And by the time I was, 10 or 11, I was really into drugs and alcohol. My father pulled me to the side and he's like, man, he called me man, he never called me boy. He's like, man, listen, I'm gonna go to Fresno. We were staying in San Jose at the time. He goes, I'm gonna go to Fresno and then I'll return that Monday and then, we'll hang out, whatever. And I was like, okay. And he kissed me and he left. And then Sunday night, we got a phone call saying that they found him in an alley, dead. And what they said was that he was robbed. And the truth is that he was set up. A few of his buddies got together. My father had a really good job. He was making good money. And he would always, when he would go back to Fresno, he would always kind of flash what he had. And they, that brings out jealousy. And he's was at a party and they were all shooting heroin. And they gave my dad the shot that killed him. So when I moved back home, my mother had lupus. Her kidneys were failing, her liver was failing. She was basically slow, she was dying slow. And then that's when I started to see who she really was. She was still that scared little 13-year-old girl who was given a child at such a young age and didn't know how to handle it, and she did what she needed to do and she took whatever she needed to take, and towards the end of her life, you can see the conviction. She passed away on the 14th of February that following year. Valentine's Day has never been the same. I'm just this 13-year-old kid just not really having no boundaries, no foundation. I had no father to show me, no men in my life who were solid. I'm 13 and I'm standing around with individuals who have no other thing in life to do but to just be menaces, just to cause havoc. By the time I was 16, I was a full-blown addict. A menace. I remember being placed in front of judges and placed in front of people of authority and them telling me, you're going to be nothing but a menace to society. Why are you even here? We should lock you up and throw away the key. And I thought that, well, okay, that's fine. And I wanted to be a statistic. I wanted to be that person that, because that's all I saw, My sight was cluttered with poverty. My sight was cluttered with pain and just despair. And that's all I saw. But my heart, my vision was telling me something different, and I didn't really want to listen to it. When I was 17 and a half, my girlfriend at the time was pregnant. And I get a phone call, and she about to have the baby. And I was like, all right. And for that brief moment, I think I said, there's a second chance. So I tell his mom, I said, I'll be back. I'm just gonna go to the neighborhood and celebrate the birth of my son. I'll be back. I didn't show up for a couple of weeks. My grandmother's house was a place of solitude. It was a place of solace. It was where I could get a shower, get a meal, and, rest. But I also stole from my grandmother a lot. And I went to the door one day and I knocked on it and she's like, she cracked it open just a little bit and you can see her, she'd been crying. said, Grandma, can I come in? She's like, nah. Granny, why? Why can't I come in? When you come in here, things have a tendency to disappear. And she's right, because I had just smoked up her rent money the week before. And some people say, you gotta reach your bottom before you realize that you need the help. In hindsight being what it is, I think at that time that was my bottom. That's when I finally realized, I said, I need to do something. And I remember calling my brother and telling him, bro, I need you. I'm going through some stuff right now. I need to get out of Fresno. I'm on the Greyhound bus with $5 in my pocket and a plastic bag with all my clothes, and I'm just crying my eyes out because I do not want to change, There's some things I gotta do. So I got involved with an organization called Alcoholics Anonymous, or AA, whatever, and learned a lot there. They laid the foundation for me, and they kept talking about higher power. And then about day 45, I started to hear stuff, right? Hear these stories and hear things and go, okay, and there's talking about higher power, but one of the things they kept telling me or telling is that your higher power can be whoever you want it to be. And I'm like, okay, wow, my own higher power. I'll name him Tyrone, he'll co-sign my BS, I'll be able to do whatever I want to do because I'll be clean. And I did that for a while, but what would happen was, then I would start to justify, because even though I was clean, I was still lying, still conniving, still doing everything else, but I just wasn't using. I meet my wife, and wow, all bets are off. She's amazing, beautiful, intelligent. But I don't want to tell her everything about me. So we get together, take her out, fall in love, get married. But she don't know nothing about me. She knows what I tell her. She knows that occasionally, more often than not, I get mad. She knows I have a tendency to have a temper. She knows I have a tendency to tear up things and cuss her out and yell at her and do all these things. She knows I can do that. But yet she just still doesn't know why. So they told my wife when we first found out we had twins that not only are they monoembryonic, but they're a high-risk pregnancy. And they told my wife that she was gonna have to be bedridden for 3 months. Now, for me, when I heard she's gonna be out the house for 3 months, I was like, my mother-in-law comes and takes care of my two youngest, and it's just my oldest there at the house. So he's pretty much, I don't deal with him. And when I would see her, she wanted me to stand. I go, no, babe, I got stuff to do. And it really was, I didn't have anything to do. I just didn't want to be there. I had other plans, other things I had other things I had to do, but they weren't what any husband should be doing. And so after the 90 days, the 3 months were up, she gets released from the hospital. The house was cold, dirty, and she said if you talk to her, she said she walked in and it was just like, there was nothing, no flowers, no anything. And here I am like, okay, you're back, so it's time to get back on your job. That means you gotta go get the kids, take care of these babies. I'm done. And I just left, Man. She finds out about my infidelity, and her best friend, who she loved and adored, who she loved enough to have his children, just told her that he's been unfaithful. And the actual breath was ripped out of her body, and heart was broke. And she then told me, what are you gonna do? And I said, I don't know. And she said, well, that's not good enough because you need to figure out what you're gonna do. She takes my kids and drives off. If you talk to her, she said she had no destination. She was just trying to get away. She ends up going to a place called Crestline, near her grandmother's house at the time. And she's walking around the lake, calling out to God. She left. I'm at the house. I'm on my knees. Tears are falling down my face. I am just like, this is crazy because now it hits me. This is not what my kids deserve. And I hear this voice ever so clearly says, what is it that you want to do? Do you want them to live, your sons, to live the same way you did? Do you want them to see the same things you did? Do you want them to go through the same stuff that you went through? Make a decision about what you're going to do, Dion. And it wasn't Tyrone. It wasn't my ego. It was God, man. Like, what are you going to do? And I can say without any doubt that as soon as I said that, I felt the presence of God. She said the same thing. She said, Lord, why should I be with him? And as she's speaking to, as she's crying out to God, asking why should I be with him? She says she looks across the pond and sees a mama duck, a daddy duck, and 4 little baby ducks. And she says, okay, I see you, I hear you. And she said she got back in the car and she drove home. He started putting people in my life who I can't thank enough. He started opening up the doors. He started shutting some doors. Peace, wisdom, difference. To have the courage, the commitment, the willingness to change. It has nothing to do with me. It's all God. Then a good friend of mine told me, you need to go to church. Cause church, I was like, church, then now we're talking religion, and now we're talking, judgmental people and all that stuff. I said, I don't have time for that. I'm good right where I'm at. So I go to church, and this gentleman walks out in flip-flops and a tank. Well, he had flip-flops and a t-shirt. And I'm like, oh. And he started to, and he opened the Bible, man, and it seemed like he was talking right to me. And I get to begin to hear about what David said. David said, there's only one thing that I seek. That's to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. I celebrated my birthday. And I have all my kids around me. And it's amazing when they want you to stay. Because they just want to be around you. And they love you so much. And you have beaten yourself up so many years thinking that you deserve any type of happiness. And here you have these kids and this woman who love you just for who you are. And they want to hang out with you, they want to spend time with you. And it's just, if anything, he gave me that. He gave me that. And I wouldn't trade that for the world, I wouldn't trade that for the world. So, It's not materialism, not cars, big houses. It's just peace and having my kids and my family. That's it. That's all I need, you know? So everything else is just gravy. That's it.